Uthman ibn Abi Alas in Sahih Sunna ibn Majah number 1639. He reported that Muhammad said that fasting is like a shield that protects you from sins, just like how a physical shield protects you from in the battle. So the true meaning of this, and this is a hadith which is very common and it's something which we hear all the times during Ramadan, but the true meaning behind this hadith is that sins carries a higher risk while fasting. Well, the risks are in two types. One is that in terms of sins and in terms of good deeds. Now, the reality of the matter is that sins are always sins. It doesn't matter if you're fasting or not. Sin will always be sins, or if it is Ramadan or not. But the reality is that during Ramadan or while fasting, sins carries a higher risk. So the first risk which carries is the obvious, that some sins will break your fast. There are certain types of sins, when you do them, they will break your fast. The risk involved here just increased. You might be performing certain sins while not fasting, but while you're fasting, then you will try extremely hard to avoid these types of sins, because when you're not fasting and you do those sins, you're getting sins, but while fasting, there's a risk where you're going to be breaking your fast. And that's the reason why when you're fasting, it acts like a shield from those types of sins. Secondly, we do know that Abu Huraira reported, and it's also in Sahih Muslim 1151, it is reported that Muhammad said that good deeds can be multiplied between 10 to 700 good deeds. So if you, let's say you did anything good, say you fed an animal, you performed the salah, you helped someone, your thawab are between 10 points to 700 points, except during Ramadan or except during Sawm. So when you're fasting, your thawab increases more than 700, depending with how you fast, depending with the quality of your fast. So this is also another risk. The first risk was that sins carries a bigger risk. The second risk is your thawab for fasting may not surpass 700. It might even be less than 700. So for example, you're fasting, but let's say you're gossiping, you're slandering, you're beating someone, so there's a higher chance that your sawm may not surpass 700 folds or 700 thawab. Okay, so that is also another risk, that your sawm may not pass 700 thawab. So that's another reason why sawm is a shield. It protects you from bad deeds so that you can get 100% of your good deed, which is sawm. And this serves like a training ground for the rest of your life, because the same practices which you've been doing while fasting is the same thing we should be doing the rest of the year, because fasting is not only ascribed to us during Ramadan, it's also Sunnah to fast outside of Ramadan, like the 6 days after Eid, fasting every Mondays and Thursdays. So again, there's also a misconception that we only fast during Ramadan. No, during Ramadan it's an obligation to fast, but there's also other Sunnah fasts after Ramadan. So this is like a training ground to program you to stay away from sin even outside Ramadan.